England have always been able to compete, but just not. They haven't had the edge. They haven't had the ability to hold the catches and to be that ruthless nature for long periods.
You think 5 tests over so many weeks, 5 days of cricket, you know it's going to be fine for most of those. You might lose 1 or 2 days, but I mean, it is a war of attrition, isn't it? A 5-test series. That's the whole point of it.
Jofra's, I guess he's being talked up as a major threat because of his pace. He's exciting and he's a very good bowler. It's going to be really cool to see him on Australian soil.
DSPN is brought to you by Novus Glass, proud partner of the Special Olympics New Zealand. The Special Olympics New Zealand National Summer Games is in Christchurch, Otautahi, this December. Across New Zealand, Aotearoa athletes, clubs, volunteers and families are getting ready, training, supporting each other and celebrating as the flame of hope travels down the country. Text Novus to 3598 to support our athletes. That's Novus, Novus, to 3598 to support our incredible athletes at the Special Olympics in Christchurch, Otautahi, this December. Notice it, Novus it.
Welcome to the DSPN.
Team New Zealand's in trouble.
Goal! He's done it again, Ricky Herbert.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
DSPN, Martin Devlin, Lachlan War, what a treat this is. We've been doing a lot of rugby, of course, because the All Blacks on tour up north, all the Autumn Internationals going on. But if you love your sport, you will know that this weekend kicks off about 6 or 7 weeks of the very best TV watching from this side of the ditch that you'll get at any time, any year. The Ashes underway. Cricket at just its zenith. Aussie versus England. England trying to wrest those Ashes back. 2015 is the last time that they held them. 2023, the last time the two sides played, and that was a 2-2 draw. Ben Stokes captaining that side. The 12 has been announced. Aussie without a couple of key bowlers. Our man, Andre Adams, former test bowler, former Australian bowling coach, and of course has got a resume in terms of his coaching credentials that is just too long to mention every single one. But you're now back in New Zealand, mate, and you're assistant coach of Otago. Welcome back to the country, and always great to have you aboard.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's nice to be home. It's fresh, clean air.
I bet. So just a quick word on the domestic season. You're full flow now?
Yep. We're 5 games deep into the one-day campaign. We just started against Wellington at the Basin, so we're doing pretty well down there in the Plunket Shield. So we're hoping to have another good day and head home tomorrow.
Of course, all of us who love our cricket are going to get in front of a telly and be watching this first session, Ashes' first test in Perth. Is this their biggest chance, England, to get away with the win, do you think?
No, I think the day-night test probably is. I think that's probably a situation where the ball's going to move around a lot more, and that's going to test both batting lineups. And I think with England being the more aggressive of the two, that might play into their hands with the moving ball. What I like about the Perth test is that it's another Perth classic in terms of it's a fast, bouncy surface. It's not a huge ground. The ball flies, and it'll be a good atmosphere. So, we'll see fast bowling. Both teams have pretty quick bowlers. So it'll be pretty exciting from that aspect, and it'll be pretty hostile.
Amazing, isn't it, when you say that, England more aggressive. This is Australia at home, Andre. Remember, okay.
Yeah, but they're actually playing the more conventional cricket of the two, which is, it's not Matthew Hayden, Adam Gilchrist anymore. The opening batters, Jake Weatherall gets on with it if he's playing. But they're certainly, and Smithy is more. He just likes to bat all day. He's not going to take you apart unless the situation requires him to go hard. So Marlis likes to bat all day. So I think when you look at the two lineups, England certainly are the more aggressive. Their coach loves aggressive cricket. The term Bazball has been used, and it's kind of corny, but it's going to go down in history as pretty symbolic. Period in English cricket and in world cricket. So, I think the way they play the game, it caused Australia a lot of problems in England, and I think it will continue to cause some problems in Australia, but I'm not sure they're quite as reckless as they were a few years back.
If you had the names Cummins and Hazelwood in that Australian lineup, how would that change the way that you look at who's going to win this first test?
I think you put them in any lineup, it changes. It changes. If you had, Camo, the thing with the Australian lineup is, even though you've got the right armers, and you'd say they're the same, that they're not. They do different things. So, Pat Cummins has been amazing last 5-6 years. He's been super consistent. So to see him injured is a bit of a surprise. But then on the other hand, at his age and the age of the fast bowlers are all sort of 34, 35. Scotty Boland's 36. So, getting injured is part of fast bowling, as Starkey said the other day. But it did feel a bit weird seeing Pat injured, because he's such a workhorse, and he's come back so well after his pretty major injuries. But I do think injuries will play a part in the series. Aussie will be coming back from two significant injuries in Hazelwood and Cummins. They've just obviously had Sean Abbott go down. I saw Mark Wood had a hamstring strain, so there's something in the water over there at the moment. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I'd hate to see it. I'd hate to see the bowling stocks get ruined by injuries, because that's kind of is going to make the Ashes. It's going to be their bowlers versus Australia's bowlers.
Yeah, but you think 5 tests over so many weeks, 5 days of cricket, it's going to be fine for most of those. You might lose 1 or 2 days, but I mean, it is a war of attrition, isn't it? A 5-test series. That's the whole point of it. Yeah,
and the first two are pretty close together. So it's like bang bang, which is pretty awesome. It is a war of attrition, but Test cricket's being played, I guess from a Test series point of view it is, but Test cricket's being played so quick now. Test matches are going 4 days. We've just sort of seen a return to 5-day cricket as a bit of a trend in the last year or so, but for a while there, Test matches were 3 or 4 days maximum. So no one wants to see that. Certainly not the fans. We want to sit down in front of the TV on the couch and enjoy the summer cricket that's ahead of us.
Yeah, and I was watching South Africa versus India the other day. That was like 3 days. Man, and I don't know whether you saw that third day. That was just extraordinary on that third day. Jofra Archer, how important is this guy to England's hopes?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I mean, it would be a blow if he was out of the team, but he didn't. He hasn't made a significant impact in the Ashes so far. And I say that mainly because he hasn't played a heck of a lot in terms of they haven't won a series in terms of his impact. So he's quick. He hasn't played a heck of a lot of Test cricket, but he is a threat. He's certainly a threat for the lower order because of the pace that he holds. He gets good players out. I'm not trying to talk him down. I'm just saying he's kind of a bit of an unknown. So in that aspect, he's a bit of a threat. We know what Mark Wood brings. He's incredibly fast and accurate. But Joffa's, I guess he's being talked up as a major threat because of his pace. He's exciting and he's a very good bowler. But it's going to be really cool to see him on Australian soil, especially in conjunction with Mark Wood.
How important is that aspect, that it is on Australian soil, and this is one of the hardest places in the world to go and play and win, and actually over 5 tests. You're probably going to have to win at least 2, don't you? Maybe probably 3 even. But that's the key to it. It's just the longevity of it, and also playing in their conditions. Everyone thinks they can play cricket till they get to Australia.
Yeah, it'll be hostile. I mean, India have done pretty well.
Yeah,
there,
they have
recently. Which is, and they kind of mix fire with fire, I think, and that's what you'll have to do in Australia. It always comes down to the batting lineups. I think the difference between Australia and England in the past has been, back in the day, Australia would hold their catches and England wouldn't, and then they'd go two tests up, and then it would be a kind of a bit of a mess. But I think, as a general rule, England have always been able to compete, but just not. They haven't had the edge. They haven't had the ability to hold the catches and to be that ruthless nature for long periods. And so, I think in this Test series, you're going to see 2 batting lineups get tested really well every single day, every moment, much like that Australia-India series that we saw last year, which was just compelling. Yeah. Watching, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Every ball that was bowled, your day would just fly by. And there'll be a lot of feeling. There'll be a lot of Barmy Army supporters. There'll be a lot of hostile Australian supporters. So it'll be a battle on the park and off the park with the supporters. So it'll be a real epic series.
Just on that again, England coming down, they know what to expect. They said that every single thing you do as a player, every word, every gesture on the field, you drop a catch in practice, it's going to be filmed, it's going to be photoed. You have to absorb and wear all of that. How much does that count when you're actually out there playing? All of that stuff.
It's actually, depends. I guess it might get you if you're a young player, but it's kind of got to the point where it's comical now. There was a report on Joe Reid taking one for 116 the other day. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't really matter. And Ben Stokes took 6 for on his first bowl, and that's more relevant than Joe Reid taking one for 116. But everything, like you said, it's always been magnified and turned into a real road show. But at the moment, it's just fever pitch off the park. There's so much media, there's so much crap, there's so much attention to nothing.
It's
kind of at a point where it's like, can we just get on with the game and get it started, because it's now just become noise which isn't relevant.
You've spent time in your position as bowling coach for Australia and that, so these guys. Do they need any geeing up for this? It might sound like a dumb question, but just their confidence levels. They're Australians, they're playing at home, they're playing for the Ashes. It doesn't get any bigger for them. What would a coach need to say to them on day one, if anything at all?
It'll just be about being calm. I think it's, if you watch Starkey's first ball to Rory Burns in the last home series of the Ashes, he bowled him around his legs. If you wanted to see passion and emotion and what it meant, I think it was summed up in one ball right there. So look, as a coach, you don't need to say much other than just try to make you want to provide an environment where they're happy and they're relaxed, and you're not adding tension to what is already a tension fueled environment. It's just being confident in the moment and trusting yourself. So I was lucky enough to be in the team for the Boxing Day Test against South Africa, and that was phenomenal. That's bucket list stuff, and so that's not the Ashes, but it was still enormous. And I can only imagine what it's going to be like this year on that day. So look, it's just a huge series. It's hard to put in words what it means and what it feels like to be in the moment, to be out there, to be around that group in such a huge series. And really, when it comes down to Test cricket, and for us down here as Anzacs, it's really the Ashes. That is Test cricket. That is what it means for us as young men watching. It's the Ashes, and then recently it's become Australia, India, but really it's all about the Ashes. So it's pretty well embedded into us cricket geeks.
Just for you being in that situation, being in that dressing room, and that obviously you got a job to do and everything else, but there must be just a moment or a split second where you sit back and look at it and go, wow, here I am, I'm here in this. Concentrate your mind, do your job.
Yeah, it is kind of surreal. I'm basically a little boy from Glenfield, and Bayview Primary, and next thing you know, I'm sitting in the dressing room with Hazelwood, Cummins, Stark.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to call them friends. So it was very surreal, a very proud moment to be sitting there in the group with this, with these amazing athletes and these amazing men, and then to be coaching. I didn't do any coaching. I caught balls and offered a bit of help every now and then, but really you're not coaching those guys at that moment. You're just making sure that they've got everything they need. So, but yeah, it was very surreal. I managed to have my sister and her partner over for that. They flew over, and we got them out into the middle of the MCG at the end of the Test match, and it was it was an awesome moment for them, because they would never get the opportunity to go into the middle. But Frank, the security man, in fact, the Marcy, let them out into the middle, and it was pretty awesome for them.
Ben Stokes, just what a presence this guy is, and what a delight it is to have somebody like that in world cricket, and also playing in the opposition to Australia. You imagine if he was an Aussie. I mean, he would be the ultimate Aussie as far as I'm concerned. He just brings everything. He's got that, he does, doesn't he? He's got that attitude. He's got that presence. He's got that strut. He's got the chest out. This is why I like him playing for England, captaining England in this Ashes series. It's almost like, as you say, meeting fire with fire. Dennis Lilly, meet Dennis Lilly.
Yeah. He's essentially if you're talking about eras, there was both of them, Flintoff, now there's Stokes, and whilst they're all different and they have different strengths and qualities, Ben Stokes is an absolute talisman for England. He's got an incredible record against Australia in the Ashes, particularly when the chips are down. He was the glue that held them together in the last Ashes home series. If he hadn't have performed, that would have been a complete shambles, or it would have been a mess, that series. So, with Australia retaining the Ashes and England coming so close, that's why there was so much feeling about the Bairstow run out, stumping, running out, whatever you want to call it. There was so much hope, and there was so much hope, and it was just the bitterness and the disappointment was what came out. It just faded away with these little situations that happened. I don't think you'll see Brendan declaring on day one of a Test match.
No. No.
And it was brave and it was bold, and they should have won that Test match. Let's not forget that. But there was so much made of that decision because they wanted to blame someone. They wanted to blame something for losing. And there's so much feeling. It is, and Ben Stokes kind of embodies that. He carries that. He's the man with the weight on his shoulders. Joe Root's kind of got no pressure on at the moment. Everyone, the Australians are all saying he won't score any runs. The English are saying he's the best player ever. Meanwhile, you got Stephen Smith sitting over there averaging 56.
Not bad.
It's just all building up. But like you say, mate, Ben Stokes, if he doesn't go well, they'll struggle.
All right, finally, last three tours, it's 0-13 for England. So I don't know whether that means anything. It's just that beating Australia, and Australia is the ultimate. And so here we go. Perth on Saturday, mate. Who wins the first one? We won't talk about, because we'll touch base throughout the series. Who wins the first one?
Oh, I've got. This is going to sound a bit gross, but I've got England to win that first one. And I just think the team's a bit more settled. I think with the bowling lineup that's coming in for Australia, that's going to be the difference. Brendan Doggett's probably going to have to make an impact. The bowling lineup for Australia, each bowler normally makes an impact, and they'll, otherwise it's all going to come down to Stark. So, I've got England winning the first one.
Huge thank you to Novus Glass for sponsoring this episode of the DSPN and for being a proud partner of the Special Olympics New Zealand. This December, over 1,200 incredible athletes, along with hundreds of volunteers, coaches and other support staff, will be making their way to Christchurch or Tautahi for the Special Olympics New Zealand 2025 National Summer Games. Novus Glass is proud to be supporting something special, and you can help support the athletes too by texting Novus to 3598. That's Novus, Novus 3598. Thanks again, Novus Glass, for supporting us here on the DSPN. Windscreen, crack or chip, notice it, Novus it.
DSPN.